Hey, welcome back, Knicks fans. Today we're going to talk about the New York Knicks game, the game they played last night. The Knicks played the Pacers. The Knicks were able to pull it out. Really gutsy win. So I'm here with Dre. And Dre, can you tell me a little bit about the game, what you saw in the game? Why do you think the Knicks are playing so much better now? What do you think, man?
Oh yeah, all right. So my thoughts. I feel like the Knicks are definitely turning a corner. Initially I was very skeptical, but you don't win 7 games, no matter. I mean, again, the Knicks have definitely beat quite a few teams that were depleted, right? And so we all were still a little apprehensive about, is this for real?
Yeah,
But as we'll do a deeper dive later on in the show, we'll start talking a little bit more, about statistics. But the defense has definitely been the catalyst of why the Knicks have had some success. They are buying into playing Tom Thibodeau's, uh, style of basketball. I mean, he's shortened up this rotation. We're all getting scratching our heads. you know, you
mhm.
know. I think there's nobody here that was not scratching their heads. Uh, when Tibbs did this, and so, but we're starting to see the dividends. Right, it's starting to pay off. The Pacers were a quality team. I was really skeptical. This is a game last year we would have definitely lost,
Mhm.
hands down. Um, the addition of Jalen Brunson is major, you know,
I agree.
major. Okay. I think he is the only player on this Knicks team who's earning his salary, and Mitch too. Mitch is not making a whole lot. So, but who is truly earning his salary. Um, and so, and what he is doing, quiet as kept, even though sometimes the assist numbers don't reflect, he is setting up. He is like having a coach on the court. He is putting people in position. When
Sure.
Randall's getting a hot head, he's being able to calm him down, and then Randall can go do his woo side on the sidelines. And so I think that it is definitely it's I want to say it's very pivotal just what we've been able to accomplish. I can't remember the last time we had a 7 game winning streak. But defense is truly has been the catalyst. I'm almost at the point where I'm ready to start getting excited again. Right, I'm not yet. I think if we get to that 10 game winning streak, that's what I'm rooting for. We get to that 10 game, then I will say, you know what, the Knicks
Mhm.
have arrived. But if we can keep winning, and I'll even take just winning up to Thanksgiving to Christmas, because we play on Christmas. And if we can win on Christmas Day from now until Christmas, oh my, oh yeah, we're gonna put the league on notice. Now, Silver, what do you think? What do
Yeah,
you?
I definitely agree with you. It starts with the defense and they shorten the rotation, but I do think I'm not going to say the shortening the rotation doesn't help. I don't think maybe I understand the dynamics enough um, to see why it would help that much. But to me, is the statistics are very clear. Jalen Brunson, R.J. Barrett, Julius Randle, they weren't playing defense before. Now they're playing defense. It's just really that simple. And if you look at I think the last video we look at the stats before they started on the win streak, they were allowing like all three of them combined was allowing like 47 to 48% by the opponents. And since the win streak, I think what was it like something like 39, 40%. And so that's pretty much what it is. So now because they're playing defense, you know, they're for the most part winning their matchups, and so and I that's pretty much what it is. And I think a lot of times it gets a little annoying when people focus so much on Grimes and on basically Grimes and McBride. And look, Grimes is playing really well. He's playing excellent defense, but he was playing before. I think it just kind of takes away. It takes away the kudos that we should be giving to RJ Julius and Jalen on the defensive end because they've improved drastically on that end. And also, we take away the blame from them because they were the ones that were responsible for a lot of the issues that they were having. And so, but so that's pretty much what I think is happening. It's really good that they are playing the kind of defense they're playing. It's extremely impressive. I mean, this past game, Julius struggled a little bit, staying with Neesmith. But for the most part, he did pretty, it was like when it counted, he showed up, especially towards the end of the game when he had to actually, he was isolated against, they wanted actually him on, what is that point guard they have over there? The young point guard, his third year that we could have drafted. Everyone is saying we should have drafted him instead of
Oh,
drafting
Halliburton.
Halliburton, yes. Like I think it was like at least two straight times he was isolated against Halliburton on the defensive end, and he did a great job. Stayed in front of Halliburton, was able to stop him, and so I thought he did an excellent job on the defensive end when it really mattered. So you got to give it up to him. Yeah, Jalen Brunson, man. I mean, like, look, I mean, he's taking it. This is his team now. He's actually taking it over. The one thing I've noticed the last few games, especially when the games are tight, he's actually taking the shots in the fourth quarter. Like this game, I don't know if you noticed it. I don't know if it's just me reading too much into it. But you know how normally when we need to get a bucket, they're always going to Julius. They'll do that. It's weird. They'll do the pick and roll to get a mismatch or whatever it is. So Julius can get into a position so they can get it to him like 20 feet away from the basket. So I guess so he backs down and does whatever he needs to do. But this last game, it's almost like he made it seem like he was going to do that, but he kind of used it to get Julius out of the way and do something different. And so I think he did that like twice during crunch time, I thought that was very interesting. And then one of them actually ended up turning into a foul, away from the ball foul. And Julius was able to get a couple of free throws from it as well, and he was able to seal the game from us at the free throw line. So overall, it's been really gutsy, a lot of gutsy wins. Actually, not a lot, but this one was really gutsy. The one yesterday, and I think also the first game against the Bulls. I thought they showed some heart and some guts and being able to pull it all the way out. In terms of the game overall for like both teams, it's pretty much like this game was determined by really free throws and 3-point shots. I think basically uh, the Pacers scored 5 more points by shooting 3-pointers, by the 3-pointers that they made. So they made 5 more points in 3-pointers than the Knicks had, or they had 5 more points off 3-pointers than we had. And then on the flip side, we had 8 more points than they did at the free throw line. And so if you net those two off, it's like 3 points difference. And so those are basically the two reasons, for the most part, why the Knicks were able to win this game, because we basically got to the free throw line a lot more than they did. And we played good enough defense to kind of pull this out. The shot, we allowed them to shoot about 43%. That's below league average. Every time you can do that, that's great. And we shot 47%. So it's just, overall, it was a really good win. And they're playing great basketball, and hopefully that can continue. Just real quick before I just wanted to show you something real quick. So I normally calculate basically that impact score is basically a PIE, but then there's like a defensive component to it where I basically factor in like basically the point differential. Did you win your matchups in terms of points? And then also, did you have more field goals than your opponent, right? And so essentially, basically our guys, they won for the most part, won their matchups. Mitchell Robinson basically lost his by 2 points, but I think it's probably because Turner made a couple of threes. I think that's pretty much what it was. But he played excellent. But so you can say maybe it was even, Mitchell Robinson and Turner. But Jalen Brunson, his defense, it wasn't excellent. I mean, he had some great steals, but in terms of actually being effective and keeping the opponent to, like, let's say, at least league average shooting, he wasn't able to do that. But on the flip side, his opponents only scored 16 points against him, and he dropped 30. So, I'm sorry, his opponents dropped 14 against him, and he dropped 30. So that created a 16-point differential, and he made 6 more field goals. So, I mean, at that point, if you're being that efficient and if you're giving that kind of production on the offensive end, I think you can probably, the team can get away with like lackluster or bad defense from Jalen Brunson. Like, it wasn't overall bad on the defensive end because, like I said, he's playing the passing lanes really well. And so he's been making it up on that end. But if you look at these numbers, man, so like, and this has been the case like the last since for the win streak. It's really just been these four players. So RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, and Jalen Brunson has been largely responsible for like the bulk of the production on this team. So it's like sort of like, yeah, I guess they're playing well. Julius Randle is playing borderline All Star basketball. Jalen Brunson is playing All Star basketball. I think RJ is starting to get there. I looked at the last 14 games or so. I think he's averaging like 44, 45% the last 14 games. And so nobody's really talked about that. But so and actually, to tell you the truth, that's the best it's been since when we made the playoffs. Because last year he could not put together like a 2 week stretch where if you looked at all the game, like if you look at like let's say 14 games last year, you can pick any 14 games, like consecutive 14 games for RJ Barrett. I don't think you'll find any of them where he basically shot over 43%, last year. And so it seems like he's also turning the corner from that standpoint. But it was just mostly I wanted to highlight the fact that like these four now like basically they're responsible for the bulk of the production for the Knicks, and it's like everyone else is just kind of doing whatever they can to fill in wherever they can. And Grimes is playing excellent defense, but like I said, it's just the rest of the team is just the production just isn't there on the offensive end from these guys.
Right, and so that's a big issue for us right now. We're not scoring. We don't have any bench scoring. So what that tells me is the impact, because we had one of the best benches, right? We were considered, one of the top best benches in the league. And that's the Obi factor. He doesn't always score a lot, and he's not, leaking out like he typically was, but he's still one of our most, consistent 3-point shooters. He's below, 40%. But at one time, he was above 40% consistently. He went through a little bad stretch, but he's definitely needed.
Yeah, I mean, Obi, he does a pretty decent job spacing the floor. And then also the way he moves, he hasn't been as effective this year. It was mostly last year where especially like the last 20 games last year, where it felt like when he's moving off ball, he tends to bend. It feels like he's bending space a lot of times. He kind of tends to pull, it makes it very difficult to for people to kind of it makes it difficult for his man to cheat off of him and do anything. And so they have to, because of the way he plays, his man is always going to be on him for the most part. So that really helps with spacing. And then also sometimes the way he moves off ball is very fast. He cuts very hard. And so that kind of tends to bend the defense a little bit. It feels like it's bending space a little bit. And I think the Knicks they do miss that. And it's not with him, it's not always just the fact that when he's making shots, but I think it's always like his position and like how they have him playing. And unfortunately, I don't agree with the way they have him playing because I don't think it's the best use of his talent. But I think they're using what they can from him to kind of like to facilitate a better offense for that second unit. And you kind of see it now that he's gone.
Right, absolutely. And another thing, Sybil, was interesting about Obi. And not to harp on Obi, because right now he's definitely not able to impact this 7-game win streak. However, when you start hearing the murmurs about trade talks,
yes,
his name is not mentioned.
Yeah,
his name is not mentioned. They'll mention Emmanuel quickly. They'll mention some of the other players, the Derrick Roses, and so on and so on. But they don't mention Obi Toppin's name. And that's because his presence, on that second team changes the dynamics. And so he's impactful, he doesn't have to score 20 points to be impactful. So I'm going to leave that there.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. So it's just, man, it is true. You never really hear him on these, especially in the trade talks. And you can kind of get why this Leon's first draft pick too. And I don't think
Wait
it's
a minute, so
the fact
wait
that
a minute, so was quickly. They
that
made
is,
the same
that is
draft.
true. But Obi was a lottery. But you're right. You're 100% right. That is
They're
true.
both
That
first
is, yeah,
rounders.
that is true. That is true. And quickly, everyone keeps hearing his name. His name is just like ringing out, is ringing loud out
Right.
in the trade streets.
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
and so, yeah, it is really interesting with that. And look, they may get lucky, where because they've stifled him enough, maybe he'll think like, well, I want to just stay home. If they're willing to like, sign me to like, let's say, whatever it is, like maybe 9, 10 million a year. I don't even think they
Well,
have the
he's already
capacity.
making 9 or 10 million a
Oh,
year.
well, you're right about that. I mean, they would have
Right.
to give him some kind of pay raise. Yeah. And- but they will obviously. I think they're going to get rid of Fournier, and so they're going to have the room to re-sign him. I think if they wanted to, but it's going to be a matter of is that what they want to do? And I think they should. I think they should. I really do believe in him. I do still believe like he fits this team better, in my opinion. Although, Julius is playing really good basketball at the moment. I
Yeah,
still,
absolutely.
I still feel like Obi's a better fit, especially with if RJ can continue being a better playmaker and continue improving. I think that's going to be a good thing. But look at this, man. It's like so the way a lot of these stats, the way I calculate these stats, when I start to include these differentials, because now you're talking about matchups, and so what it ends up doing is like it gives basically the people that win their matchup, it kind of gives them more credit, right? It
Sure.
juices their score more. I'm sorry, go
Right.
ahead.
No, no, no. I'm just agreeing with you. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then like the guys that lose their matchup, if you see here, it drags their score down. It can actually drag you into a negative. So basically, it shows the guys that are basically a drag on the team, and then shows the guys that are basically just that are net positive. So I think that's why. Not I think, but that is the reason why I always try to make sure I include the defense. I include the defensive factors in this way, right? It's just so we can basically see who's the drag, who's dragging the team overall, and who's basically, sustaining, like kind of pulling your weight. And look, I mean, Grimes has played excellent defense, but like I've always said with Grimes, it's just like I really hope like it's just the offensive production still needs to come. Like he's playing great on defense, and luckily because these guys have been shooting, they're becoming more efficient. We don't miss it, right? So we can afford to have Grimes be a drag overall when you include his offensive output, because these guys have been playing such good basketball on the offensive end.
Oh, I agree. And
Yeah.
what you're saying about Grimes, I had a buddy of mine. We had this debate the other day about Grimes, and he feels like Grimes is the next Allen Houston. And
Mhm.
I'm like, well, wait a minute, pump your brakes, okay? I said, Allen Houston. I don't think anyone on the Knicks, and I've been a Knicks fan since 1986.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't think anyone has ever had a sweeter stroke,
Yeah.
a more pure shot than Allen Houston. And
Yeah.
so that's played for the Knicks. And so to compare him to Allen Houston, thinking that he's the next coming of Allen Houston, and this is the guy this was the chink in the armor of why we didn't trade for Donovan Mitchell.
Mhm.
I'm going to scratch my head. I'm going to scratch my head, and and
Yeah.
and so I mean, how many how many 3-pointers did he score this past game?
I think he made one. I mean, it was a very important one he made, but it was only one. Yeah.
Exactly, and so I
Excuse me.
to me he he plays like a late first round, second round player.
Yeah.
He's not that he's not productive,
Mhm.
but he's figuring out his role, right?
I
Especially on
agree.
this particular team that right now he's able to flourish in his own skin, I want to say, because he doesn't have to worry about carrying the load, he doesn't have to worry about being, anytime the Knicks draft someone, especially in the first round, the expectation is that you're the savior, right?
Yeah.
And which leads to a lot of disappointment. and we've had that with Kevin Knox and Frank Ntilikina, and I can go on and on and on. And so, yeah, it's just interesting to see the stat and see where he lines up in in this pie defensive deficiency. So it's interesting. Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, like I agree with you. I think people that compare him to Allen Houston, I do think is blasphemous. I hear it. I've been hearing it quite often on a lot of the by these content creators, and I just think it's a little too much. And look, the kid is playing great defense, but all I'm just saying, the offensive output is just way too low, and it's just something that needs to improve a little more. I think it's good that the team like RJ, Julius, and Brunson is playing so well that they can compensate for that, overcompensate for the shortfall. But I still think the output is low. And I'm sorry, give me 1 second. I don't know why I've been having these. Like I've been having a cough. Is like every time I talk, like I've been coughing too much.
Oh yeah, it's the season. It's the season.
So
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy.
we're gonna call it the New York Knicks cough. The
I
cough
know,
that
right?
people right as we're getting excited. You know how there's someone on the back side they'll give you a call. Like, wait a minute, just not yet, right? We're gonna call it the cautious cough, right?
Yep.
The New York
I,
Knicks
I remain, yep, I remain cautious on this team because it's really all about, it's really just the defense. If these
right.
guys continue playing defense, they're going to be fine. But because the thing about them is, you know, with the defense is like sometimes you get the feeling they're too good. They feel like they start really feeling themselves. They feel like they don't really have to play that hard because they think their offense is good enough to basically to not play excellent defense, right? And to not play hard in defense. And so that's just what I'm afraid of. That's why I'm still cautiously optimistic about the team. I do think they're turning the corner, but I'm still kind of like, okay, trying to guard myself because just sometimes their attitude kind of makes me think like they can decide to stop playing defense because they think their offense is that good. And it could definitely help hurt them in the playoffs too if they do make a playoff run. But just one more thing is like these four players, you basically add up these PIE with the defensive factor, and then it's like they're basically responsible for 99% of the production. That's like insane, It adds up to 99. I mean, like obviously Emmanuel quickly gives you production too, so does Hartenstein, but it's just because of these two negatives here, actually these three negatives. But if you just add these guys up, it's they account for 99% of the production. But anyway, so that's pretty much that's pretty much what it is with the stats. I kind of wanted to go. I have this up here where I kind of wanted to go over the individual, like kind of like some of the issues on defense, like but statistics, like kind of more from a statistics standpoint. And so this is basically the one. I think the biggest struggle was really just Julius, but it wasn't, it wasn't enough. Like I said, when it mattered, he showed up on the defensive end towards the end. But I know Naismith was like kind of like, was really putting in work against Julius. And look here, because basically the NBA.com, like on the box score, they have this one page where you can look at basically all the people Julius Randle played defense against. Like he played one-on-one defense against, and it kind of gives you the stats of like how he performed. And so Neesmith, if you see here, Neesmith basically was giving him buckets. So he had some trouble with like Neesmith. And then the only other person was Tyrese Halliburton. So these are basically one-on-one defense that he played. And so it's a total of 18 points, according to this here. And then he basically allowed 7 field goals made. And the efficiency wasn't that great. But Julius Randle himself, let's see how many points he scored. He did win his matchups, I think, because he scored 25 points. And so Julius Randle was, at the end of the day, did what he had to do and still won the matchup. But that was really the only person that's from our big three, basically big four that struggled on defensive end. If we look at let's go to RJ Barrett. I mean, he's been really impressive recently on the defensive end. So he challenged 21 shots So he was playing a lot of defense. He was challenging a lot of shots. He only allowed 6 field goals made and held the opponents that he guarded to 29%. And so these are basically the list of people that he guarded one-on-one. And it's he just did an excellent job on these guys. Buddy Hield was the only person who gave him some buckets, but Buddy Hield was pretty difficult. He's just like an excellent shooter. And I think he did. Was he the one? Or might have been Grimes who blocked Benedict Mathurin's shot, either Grimes or RJ. But either way, RJ has been playing really good defense, and I'm glad he's picked it up, and he's also committed to it. He's been playing excellent defense, and this game, just like the last 7 games, I mean, it shows. Like no one that he guarded really went off on him. He pretty much did a great job, like holding him to, poor shooting. Well, I guess Buddy Hield was the only. Buddy Hield went 4 of 6 against him, but that's the only person he struggled against. But the rest, he really. Oh man, look at what he did to Benedict Mathurin. Like he didn't want his little brother trying to show him up. Help Benedict Mathurin to shooting. Like when he matched up against him, yeah. And so that's very impressive. And then the other person was Jalen Brunson, and he struggled on the defensive end. But luckily, the offensive output from the guards, were low enough, so low. At least the people he guarded that he went up against, it was so low that he just kind of like the fact that him dropping 30 just kind of like made us not even really feel the fact that he gave up like what was it, like 71% shooting on a defensive end. And so, but it was only 5 for 7, only challenged 7 shots. And so it's, so it definitely worked out for the team. And then let's just look at Grimes as the other person. So let's see how he performed. Grimes, he basically allowed 15 points and held the opponents to 31% shooting, so 5 of 16. This is against whoever he guarded one-on-one. So it's, he also did an excellent job. So these guys are just playing really good defense. We've had people, like a few players, struggle here and there, but for the most part, they're defenders on the floor. Especially in the starting lineup, Brunson is the only one who's like basically the weak link defensively now, and they're able to cover that up. And like I said, he's also able to basically make it up a lot of times by doing a great job playing the passing lanes. And so he's finding ways of making it up. He makes it up on the offensive end by being way more productive than whoever he's guarding, whoever he's playing matched up against. And so that's really important for Brunson. And this is Mitchell Robinson right here. And of course, he's always like, this dude is holding people to 25% shooting. We're talking about at the rim, it's like that's ridiculous. Sometimes I think people don't realize how well. I think Knicks fans do realize, but I think the NBA, I don't know if they really realize overall how good he is as a defensively as a big man. I really feel like he might be the best defensive center in the league.
Really?
I'm thinking, I'm trying to think. I might be in the prison. Statistically, it really feels that way. It's like
that's a bold statement. The best defensive center.
It really feels that way. Like I'm gonna see if I can look up all the
you're gonna have to get some stats.
But what do you think? What do you tell me? Tell me what you think about
the best.
Talk me off the ledge. Talk me off the ledge. Let me know what you think, so I can. Let me just. See.
You still got Rudy Gobert, right?
Mm-hmm.
God. Oh man, there's a couple of guys I'm just trying to think of the top of my head, but the best. What's the guy in Boston?
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. Robert Williams.
Yes, yeah, yeah. So there's a couple of guys, but you know what? I want to. So our what we'll do for our next call, we're gonna do some comparisons, like the top the top centers. We're going to see where Mitch ranks. Strictly defense, not on the offensive side. And I'm curious. I do think he's top 10. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Hands down, top 10. I would like to see the stats before I go all in. Before I go all in, I want to see the stats. But that's hey, this will be interesting. This will be really, really interesting. Continue content, man. If you want to keep hearing, you want to see, keep tuning in.
Yeah. So what I did just do a quick look up of all the centers in the league. I looked up the.
You did a quick one, huh?
Just kind of, and I'm sorting it by defensive rating.
Okay.
For me, these defensive ratings, in my
opinion, Joel a B.
Yeah. Yeah.
He is a defensive juggernaut.
Yes, he is. I agree with you on that. The thing
with Evan Mosley is pretty tough himself. Oh boy, Evan Mosley is pretty good.
Yeah, Brook Lopez is actually playing really good defense as well. But the thing with the defensive ratings, obviously, it's like how well is the team playing when you're out on the floor. So it's kind of like more of a team rating, and of course, you can have an impact on the team rating, which is good. Mitchell Robinson is all the way. If you look at the defensive rating amongst all centers, he's all the way down at 14. If you look at all the centers in the league, but if you think about it, it's like, is he better than Bam Adebayo on defensive end? In the paint, I think so. Is he better than this guy, Aldama? I think so. Is he better than Rudy Gobert? This is where, okay, I don't know. Rudy might be better. Evan Mobley, I've seen Evan Mobley. I think Mitch is better than Evan Mobley.
Really?
Yeah.
From a defense perspective or an offensive rebound perspective?
Oh, defensive perspective.
Okay.
Man in the paint, being able to Mitchell Robinson, because Mobley played when we played against the Cavs. Mobley played in that game, and Mitchell Robinson basically handled him. It wasn't much of an issue for Mitch. DeAndre Jordan, I don't know. I think this is fluky. I think this is something more to do with the team overall. I don't think he's as good as Mitch. Wendell Carter Jr., good defender, but I don't think he's as good as Mitch. Jared Allen, this is the one actually that's debatable. I think he might be a little better, possibly.
Whoa.
Maybe.
Joel Embiid. Mitch is better than Jared Allen? No way.
No, I'm saying no Jared Allen, I think, is probably a little better than Mitch. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah. Joel Embiid, I think, definitely is better. Dean Wade, no. Brook Lopez, probably a little bit. Koloko, I haven't seen him play enough, but no. Jaren Jackson, I think he probably might be. See, with Jaren Jackson, it's I don't know. He is a very good defender, but one-on-one, I think, I don't know. I just don't know about Jaren Jackson. I'm going to say him and Mitchell might be tied. So, yeah, there are centers that are so he's not the best. There are some of them. Joel, like I said, definitely better. Brook Lopez, I think, is better, and possibly Jared Allen is better, I think, and Rudy Gobert. So there's definitely 4 players that I can say is better.
That's why I give you top 10. I give you top 10.
Yeah. So yeah, okay. I think I was acting crazy. I was acting out. Yeah, best center. Yes, yeah, that's true. I don't think he is best defensive center, but he is pretty damn good. I mean, and this is the ratings, the defensive ratings again. I would love to see what they hold opponents to, because the NBA does keep that stat. Actually, let's do it this way. Just give me one quick second. What do you think about what do you think is the issue? Before I get back to that, what do you think is the issue with Emmanuel quickly? He's really been struggling. It seemed like he was turning the corner, and it seems like he's regressed again, and he's really struggling with his shot. Why do you think he's struggling with the shooting so much?
You know what it is? It's identity. And Tibbs, even though the Knicks have been playing well, he has stripped Emmanuel quickly from his identity. And so he doesn't know how to play his game anymore. And I know someone say, well, you have to take a seat back, or, you have to let others kind of, flourish, but right now the offense is all the big three. The
Yeah.
big three are the ones who are taking the bulk shots. They're not allowing other role players to get in the rhythm.
Hmm.
And so, but what's going to happen when one of those guys get hurt? Right now, everybody's been playing Iron Man ball, right? You see this big three, they're playing 40 plus minutes, 38, 39 minutes, and Tibbs is doing what Tibbs does, which
Yeah.
is run your players into the ground.
Yeah.
And so, even with quickly, getting, I think what it quickly get about 20 something minutes or whatever. He's
Hmm.
not, and because Tibbs is fearful that the second team doesn't have somebody who can create their own shot.
Yeah.
He's keeping RJ in the game. He's keeping Randall in the game. One of those two are always in the game to ensure that there is someone, a number one option on the court. But Emmanuel quickly, hey, in his mind, he can be that number one option.
Hmm.
And, in the past, he had that chance. He had that chance to be that facilitator. He had that chance to be that person who, if need be, he could shoot the three, or he could penetrate, he could dish, he'll find Obi, he'll find whoever. And, and Tibbs has ultimately stripped him from that. And so now he's trying to find his way. And I'm sure the trade rumors are not helping. Again, we are looking at these players and we're assuming that they're our age, right? We're assuming that they have the mentality of someone who is in their 30s or their 40s, and that they can just handle all the social media, all the extras that come along with being a professional athlete. So hearing your name, being considered in trades, and it affects you. It affects your psyche. So I'm sure these are all the things that are factors that contribute to the declining play of Emmanuel quickly.
No, I agree with you. I do think all these things are a big deal. I didn't even think about the whole identity issue. I've really thought about it since last year. Sorry, I felt like it was definitely a big issue for quickly last year. But I agree with you. I think it's definitely an issue for him. So I don't know. I just hope something, because he figures it out. Because I know last year I thought he was turning the corner, because he was playing a lot of point guard last year, um, and he really I felt like it felt like he took a huge step forward. Some of the stats that he was putting up was like I felt was pretty incredible, in my opinion. Some of the stats that he was putting up, and so I'm just pretty surprised that he's struggling. I thought basically he was going to be over that whole identity issue, but I agree with you. I do think that's a problem for him, and so hopefully he can, like I don't know, hopefully he can get over it. And this whole trade thing, I think, could be also the trade rumors is probably a distraction. I think uh, it is making me think. Okay, there's something there. There is something there in terms of the whole trade rumors, and like you said, I think that's probably really affecting his game a lot. So it'll be really interesting to see, how it all shakes out. But
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I don't know. I really feel like this team can only go so far.
mhm,
Stan Patton. And at the end of the day, I mean, we're playing some pretty good team ball right now,
yeah,
but we don't have an elite player. We don't have a franchise player.
mhm.
And until we get a franchise player, we will never get past the number fourth seed.
Yeah. I mean,
And
it's yeah.
And the only way to get a well, I'm not gonna say the only way. I would say probably one of the best ways is to get it is
Mhm.
to trade one of your big three
Mhm.
and get unprotected first round draft picks,
Right.
you know, so that you could be able to possibly get a lottery pick, someone who could definitely be a differentiator, a game changer. But we don't have it. We can't build around RJ. We can't build around Jalen Brunson, and we damn sure can't build around Julius Randle. So now, even though they're in sync, but guess what? What they remind me of right now was that Detroit Pistons team.
Mhm.
Remember that was coached by Larry Brown, and
Yep.
they had you know Chauncey Billups, Rasheed Wallace, Ben Wallace, and all those guys, right?
Mhm.
And they won a championship one year. They were able, but guess what? They never came anywhere close to doing it again.
Mhm.
Because you know why? There was no franchise player. Everybody was on the tail end of their careers at that point. Rasheed Wallace, a younger Rasheed Wallace, sure, you could have built around Rasheed. But he was at the tail end. At that point, he was at his prime and they couldn't sustain.
Mhm.
And so we got a lot of young guns here right here. Jalen Brunson is young. RJ is young. Julius is almost 30. He's getting close to 30.
Yeah. He's getting old.
So yeah. So why he's increasing his value, like I would not even and I know I'm gonna turn over my sleep probably tonight a couple of times saying this, but I probably right now would not trade him mid-season,
Mhm.
because I want to see how far they can go and I want to see what he looks like in the playoffs. Is he gonna lay another egg like he
Yeah.
did, in Atlanta? Or has he truly turned the corner? And so I want to see because I don't think he has. And I feel like we'll know, we'll know this season and keep playing well. I want him to continue playing well. I want the Knicks to continue playing well. But I do realize that this is what made Danny Ainge so popular. Danny Ainge just wouldn't settle. He realized what he has on his team.
Yep.
And what we always say, he would have traded some of these guys a long time ago. So it'll be interesting. All right, so you ready with your stats?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what the other thing I did also, I ranked, it's, and I agree with you, by the way, with Julie, in terms of Julius Randle. I wouldn't trade at this point. I would not trade him mid-season. If I had to trade him, I will do it like in the off season. And in my opinion, given his, where he is right now in terms of, let me see, how old is Julius Randle? He's 28. So
Mhm.
he's definitely in his prime at the moment.
Right.
Um, yeah, it depends on how he plays. If you can get a couple of first round picks for Julius,
Hmm.
it may not be a bad idea. Or even if you trade him for a first round, it's going to be tough. It depends what kind of first round pick too, right? So maybe
He's
trade
worth
him
two
for
first
like,
round draft picks, hands
yeah,
down.
yeah. Or if you can trade him for a young, very good like wing player, right? I think
Okay.
that's another possibility. You know, so that's what
Yeah,
I
I
think
would.
of this
I mean,
round.
well, think about it. Think about for Porzingis, right? We acquired Dennis Smith Jr., who's playing great ball right now. Can't
Mhm.
even understand how that is even happening. And
Mhm.
we received two first round draft picks.
Yeah,
And I would say that Julius Randle is better than Porzingis.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I
Porzingis,
would say he was better than Porzingis. So if he can net us at least two first round picks, even though, I know one of the picks was definitely protected, I
mhm.
can't imagine we would take anything less.
Yeah,
And, a possibly a struggling first round draft pick player, right? And so, and he wasn't really struggling as bad as he did when he came to New York. Talking about Dennis Smith Jr.
mhm.
He wasn't as bad in Dallas when he came over.
Mhm.
But he just wasn't a fit at that particular time, and I think it was more of a headspace of anything. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I would definitely wait to the end of the season. But if Randall lays another egg in the playoffs, which I don't think that'll happen, I don't foresee that happening because of Jalen Brunson. He won't feel as obligated to have that takeover spirit, and I feel like Jalen Brunson can be able to facilitate, and then be able to woo side with him on the sideline, because that's what he said. He said essentially Jalen Brunson calms him down. So that's where I'm where I'm coming from.
No,
uh,
definitely agree with you on that. And so yeah, it's really it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the off season. So like it really got me thinking with the All Star game. Everybody's been talking about voting for All Stars, and so it kind of made me start thinking, okay, how to evaluate uh, these players. Like basically all the point guards, especially in the East, to see Jalen Brunson's like the probability of him making an All Star team. I mean, on the votes, he might be able to do it because it's New York City. If you vote for him, we can get him in that way. But if he doesn't get in on the votes, and let's say it's all based on, let's say the coaches or whoever it is that does the selection, um, I think it's going to be difficult, right? I think if it's based on like, if he doesn't get in on a vote and they have to like kind of pick guards, um, if you like, I kind of did this, looked at it's a way to kind of do a power ranking who's like statistically who's the best point guard. This is the Eastern Conference, and I kind of that's how I ranked it. It's basically a PIE, but this PIE is based on like normally when you calculate a PIE, is basically each person's output compared to like his team's output. But this year, I'm just taking all the guards and then basically comparing
mhm.
each player's output versus like let's say the rest of the guards, starting guards in the league, right? And then kind of using it and then ranking it from there. And in the East, according to this, Jalen Brunson is one, two, three, four, five, sixth in the East. And it's statistically. But if you think about, and this is where sometimes stats can be a little misleading, because I do think, and it's debatable. I kind of think statistically, he might like it. Well, not statistically, but in terms of impact on the team, I think he may have a greater impact on our team than Drew has on the Bucks. I think because
Well,
like
Drew hasn't played many games this year. How
uh,
many games?
he played 21 games,
Okay.
um, and they're 17-4 when he plays. Um, but with Drew though, I mean, like the Bucks are such a good, well put together team that
Sure.
they can withstand not having Drew. I mean, they won't win, and they're not going very far in the playoffs without Drew Holiday. Um, but if you kind of look at the Knicks, the Knicks are not the Knicks this year. Is the Knicks without Jalen Brunson is going to be this last year's Knicks, in my opinion. Um, and so that's the only one that's kind of debatable. Where I think, okay, maybe he might be. I think he might be a little more important to the Knicks than Drew is to the Bucks. But the rest of these guys, if you think about it, not really. Because if you think about Tyrese Halliburton, even if you look at him statistically, I mean, statistically he's better than Jalen Brunson. I mean, like it may sound kind of crazy to say that. Some people are, I know, like in MSG analysis they were doing yesterday, they were saying he wished Tyler Halliburton was gonna wish he was a guard, like he's pretending and wishing, but that is gonna go to Jalen Brunson. But the stats, I don't know, it doesn't really bear that out. I didn't even realize Tyler Halliburton was playing this well, but he's a handful. He's like statistically, um, statistically, he's ranked as the best point guard in the East, and this includes Donovan Mitchell. That's what's a little bonkers about it. Donovan Mitchell's averaging is averaging almost 29 and a half points per game. And I'm trying to see why is there such a big difference? Like, why is there Tyrese Halliburton? I think it's probably no, they're pretty similar in terms of rebound. It's the assist. So it's the assist is the big separator. But yeah, he's tough, you know. But so in terms of if Jalen Brunson, if he gets voted in, he's in, right? But if it's like up to some coaches to make a decision, then I think it's going to be a lot tougher than the Knicks think. It's not going to be that clear because if it's something a decision a bunch of coaches or writers will have to make, and if they give it to Jalen Brunson over Tyrese, you can actually debate that Tyrese Halliburton was snubbed over Jalen. So and then looking at the two guards, um, I kind of ranked all of them for the East Coast and like starting two guards. It doesn't have all of them here. Like this isn't all the point guards and all the guards because a lot of guys play. I cut it off at 15 games. So if you play less than 15 games and you were starter, I did not include this list. But
Yeah.
you know, the people that made the 15 game cutoff, RJ is like it's last in the East as far as starting guards. And I think, look, I think he's, in my opinion, he's better than Kelly Oubre. He's better than Buddy Hield. I think he's better than, he's going to end up being better than Tyler Hero. But like I said, the biggest problem we've always known the problem with RJ. The thing that drags it down for him is his efficiency, and he's been climbing. Just a week ago, he was still like at 40%, low 40s. Actually, 2 weeks ago, he was low 40s, and now he's at almost 42%. So if he can kind of maintain the way he's been playing the last week and a half or so, I think this is pretty soon. Hopefully, gets up to about 45, and he's going to climb up these ranks here. You're going to see him a little further, or probably ahead of. Maybe around where Tyler Hero is. I don't know if he'll overtake Tyler Hero because the thing that helps Tyler Hero juice up his numbers too is the rebounding. And not that Tyler Hero is a better rebounder than RJ, but it's more about the team needs. The Heat, they're not very big, so they need their guards to actually rebound to basically to get a lot of rebounds. And so that's why that kind of helps Tyler Hero's stats a little bit as well. So, but yeah, that's it for RJ. And then Julius is the one that's been pretty impressive. And so this. I didn't separate this by. I don't think I didn't separate this by. Is this? Oh yeah, this is for the East Coast for the Eastern Conference. And so on the Eastern Conference, if you look at power forwards, Joel Embiid is not power. I don't know why they have Joel as a power forward. They have him power forward slash center. But so the guys highlighted, or I will compare Julius Randle to, and what is he? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's seventh in the East in terms. If you're talking about like best power forwards, people that would be considered power forwards, and so it's going to be very difficult to see him making the playoffs as well, unless the New York Knicks vote him in. So all of our players, if it's up to, like, let's say coaches making decisions, Jalen might be able to sneak in there. They might be able to snub somebody for Jalen Brunson, just because of how important he is to the Knicks. But statistically, yeah, a lot of our guys, there's like just a lot of guys that are ahead of them. But combined overall, they're playing great, and we're winning. We've won 7 in a row, and if they continue this defense, All Star and all that stuff wouldn't matter because they're still probably going to. If they keep playing this kind of defense, they can possibly do some damage, especially in the playoffs.
Well, the Knicks are sitting at the 6th seed right now.
Yep.
And if they go and let's just say towards the All-Star game, and they just it's just possible that they get a move up to like the 4th seed. Somebody on this New York Knicks team should be on that All-Star game. You can't be the 4th seed in the league, and you don't have at least one player in that All-Star game. You just can't. And so, that can't be ignored. Like, so now who do you send? But I feel like you said, I agree. It would have to be Jalen Brunson because he is the differentiator.
Mhm.
And right now he's playing better ball than Trae Young. I say he's playing equally good ball as Tyrese Halliburton,
Mhm.
and definitely playing better ball than Drew Holiday. So the only person that I can see, you know, could possibly get the nod, maybe Donovan. I don't know, just because of the record of the Cleveland Cavaliers
Mhm.
and Kyrie. It's gonna be hard to beat Kyrie. I mean, you can say what you want, anybody can say, but it's gonna be hard. That's gonna be hard. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like,
you know,
when I did the Trey Young is like someone is like, I mean, he obviously he's having issues in terms of like locker room issues with coaches and stuff like that. But I don't know. Trey Young is a handful. Like last year when I did I kind of did a power ranking of all the MVP candidates. He was ahead of. He was actually in 2 years in a row. I did it 2 years in a row. He was ahead of Luka Doncic, like statistically. Um,
mhm.
so I mean, the dude. I mean, his field goal percentage is like he's terrible this year. It definitely needs to be better. Um, and I think you can. He's kind of like normally he should be number one. If this was like last year, he would be probably on top of this list. But yeah, Trey Young is last year he was last couple of years statistically he was just like he was a force. Like I said, he was like when I compared all the MVP candidates, which included Luca, he was actually ahead of Luca. And it's weird. It's kind of weird to say, but it is. That's just what the stats say. You know, like the eye test sometimes obviously tells me like Luca is a more dominant player. Um, is a more dominant player, but not even. I don't know. I don't even know if it's by that much because like if you think about Trey Young, I mean, do you remember what he did to us in the playoffs 2 years ago?
Sure.
I mean, he's a very smart point guard. I mean, he just manipulates the defense so well. I mean, we couldn't do anything with him. So he's not. Although his stats are kind of has dipped, pulled back a lot this year, efficiency wise, from two and also from three. But it's going to be interesting to see where he's at towards the end of the year. But yeah, I would not. Yeah, I think I do believe that like I think definitely Donovan, definitely Trey. I mean, Kyrie's a better point guard than Jalen. I don't know. You're right. I don't know if they allow Kyrie to play.
Right. Right.
Well,
You never know what Kyrie may do by by that time.
no, right. He might say
So
something else crazy, and they might snub him.
exactly.
But Kyrie, he might get voted in. I mean, like it's people like Kyrie, Trey, and Donovan Mitchell. They're probably going to get voted in.
Right. And what's interesting is, I mean, the Nets are I think they're on a 7-game winning streak as well.
Yeah.
So, and I think they are still ranked in the top, within the top 4, top 5 in the standings.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all those things are factors, things that you got to consider. And so, yeah, the Nets are 19-12.
They won 6 in a row.
And yeah, so you got to think about the other players, like, so the Jason Tatums, James Harden has not really been playing any great basketball. So I mean, right now the Knicks are only about 2 games outside of the 4th seed. So they stay on this hot streak. Uh, you know, they could conceivably be at the 4th seed. And that'll make that'll make the playing field a lot interesting,
Yeah.
So,
With the way they're playing defense, anything is possible. That's just what I think. It's just if you can play this kind of defense, I think anything is possible. because the fact that they're getting, because all these guys in the starting lineup, even Jalen Brunson, although Jalen Brunson is short, um, they have the tools to play the defense, to play like elite defense. And you said they were. Did you say they were number one since the win streak started, like in terms of defensive efficiency? I think. Well, I think they're number one since that during the 7 game win streak. So they're like the number one ranked defense the last 7 games. So it's
Yeah, yeah, they are. That's accurate. Yes.
so when you're playing that kind of defense, it's like it's anything is possible. I mean, you look at the Celtics. I mean, like in my opinion, aside from you know Tatum, there's no one on the Celtics that's like, okay, this is like impossible to stop this guy. Jalen Brown has really come up. He's become a lot more confident on the offensive end because of last year's run. But the Celtics are just a very good team, very smart team on the offensive end. They know what they can do and how to get their buckets. But it's really about the Celtics. It's really about their defense. And so honestly, and look at what they did last year you know. And so if you have the players to play that kind of defense, look, man, a lot is possible in this league when you can play that kind of elite defense. You just shut everyone down. So that's pretty much no, that's pretty much what I think about these Knicks. Hopefully this continues, and hopefully they continue winning more games. They have some opportunity actually to run off a few more games. I know what are they playing? The Warriors next, right? They play the Warriors tomorrow night.
Yeah. Hmm.
And so, and with that, I think they can. There's no Steph Curry, so they should be able to sneak a win, against the
Right.
Warriors.
Right.
I
Is it at home or is it in
think it's at
in
home.
oh yeah. So it's a home game then. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. We should definitely well
they struggle at
I'm,
home.
yeah, we struggle at home and Clay Thomas is Thompson is playing a lot better.
Mhm.
Um, he's still kind of hit or miss, but you just never know if it's that game. And they still got Jordan Poole, who I feel, you know, I don't know how long they're going to be able to keep him. Now that's the guy I would still love to trade for. Can
Hmm.
you imagine us having him? Oh God, and
Yeah.
putting him at the two guard,
Hmm.
him and Jalen Brunson. So even without Steph, I mean they're still technically. I mean the Golden State Warriors have been struggling all year, but uh, I that's still a team that I would not take lightly. Their record is about 15-16 right now, so they're teetering around close to 500.
Hmm.
Playing in the West, where it's just interesting. The Grizzlies and the Pelicans are the top two teams. And what's so significant about that, there, Sybil, is that those two guys who are leading those two teams was the first and second draft pick of that draft,
Yeah.
and we got the third person.
Yeah, I remember that draft. It was very clear. Like, obviously, I mean, not John, but like Zion Williams was on the class all by himself. And then I remember thinking, like, yeah, John Moran is really good. But then I kind of like, there was clearly like a step, a clear difference between Ja and RJ, even before during the draft. And so, like, I knew that like we were going to end up with RJ. There was nothing else. And then it was the crazy thing after RJ. I felt like the talent level really fell off after that. But I didn't foresee Garland being as good as he. I thought Garland maybe could be really good, but he was so short. I wasn't sure like if he was going to be able to have that kind of impact on the league.
Yeah,
But I remember like because he was injured too. I think he was injured during the year he got drafted, and that was a concern. But I remember watching some of his games, like some of the tapes on him, and it was I remember thinking like, man, this kid is, he was really good. So that was the only other person I was like thinking, should they possibly even consider him? But there was really no one else in that draft. It's like there were other ones that played well. The Tyler Hero came in that draft too, right? I think
Um,
he drafted much
he
later.
was, yeah, he was late. He was later in the round, yeah.
Yeah, I mean Tyler Hero, he's not. If he was on the Knicks, he wouldn't do it for us. Because
Absolutely.
we would
And
need
what is he
defense.
doing this
We can't
year?
bring the defense.
Yeah, what is he doing this year?
He's doing his thing. He's ranked ahead of RJ in terms of
That's not hard.
but it's mostly like again, like I said, with RJ is really for him. It's about the efficiency. That's what's really dragging him down. Um, but yeah, I mean it's. But I do feel like RJ is a better player than Tyler Hero. I feel like he gives you I feel like he gives you a little more. But it's just again, it's the efficiency for RJ. But right now, I feel like he is better than Tyler Hero, especially the way he's been playing the last, uh,
Well,
couple.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Tyler Hero can't create his own shot. Like I wouldn't give him the ball and say he's a good catch and shoot type guy,
Mhm.
and he hustles, but at the end of the day, RJ can score, on three levels. Consistently, no. But he can score on three levels. Um,
Yeah.
and once he figures out how to finish to the basket, we may really have something there.
Yeah.
So and Tyler Hero doesn't play defense either.
Yeah,
So
that's where I feel like RJ has a clear big edge as far because he's a two-way player. Tyler Hero, he kind of wants to be a two-way player, but he's just not. He's just not a two-way player. RJ can actually be impactful on the defensive end when he's locked in. Tyler Hero cannot. That's where I think RJ has the edges him out. I think Tyler Hero, he's like he can make. I feel like he can make plays for himself, but it's just overall two-way player. RJ is that Tyler Hero is not. That's why I think he is. He's a better player, especially you look at the way RJ's been playing the last 2 weeks. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I guess we can just wrap it up here. Is there anything else you want to say to the fans before we kind of shut it down, Dre?
no, I think I'm excited. I'm not overly excited. I'm cautiously. You know what? That's what I'll say. I won't even say excited. I'm cautiously optimistic.
Same here. I second that.
That's what I'm going to say because at the end of the day, what's going to happen if we lose one of these big three?
Mhm.
So, but again, I'm not wishing any bad juju, no bad karma, and so, but we'll see. Let's just keep watching. Let's enjoy. Let's keep holding this team, feet to the fire, including the coach, the front office. Just because we won 7 games in a row, doesn't mean we take the foot off the pedal and that we don't continue holding everyone accountable. So that's
Yeah.
what I'm going to end on my note.
I agree. Well said. From on my end, is all about the defense. Don't think you're too good to play defense. Just keep playing the defense, and they'll be fine. Thank you guys for watching. Watching it. If you're watching the video, please remember to make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. You can also comment below. We'll be more than happy to respond to your comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good night.